Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be filming my 5-star books from the first quarter. So that's January, February, and March. All of the books that I rated 5 stars. Now, as you can probably see from the length of this video, I have a lot of 5-star books. And the reason I have so many is because I generally am pretty good at picking books that I think that I'm going to like. So I read a lot of 5 stars because I read a lot of books that are exactly in my wheelhouse. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna try to keep it as short as I can about all of these books because there's quite a few to get to. So I read 19 books in January, and of those 19, 8 of them were 5 stars. So the very first book that I read in January was The Road of Bones by Demi Winters, and this is a 5-star, it's really a 6-star god tier book for me. I absolutely adored this book. So this book is about a girl who is on the run and her father gets murdered, so she has to travel on the Road of Bones to get to another town where she meets a band of warriors that she kind of has to convince to protect her. And it's that story. There's an excellent romance. This is a romantasy. I absolutely adored it. So much so that I went straight into Kingdom of Claw, and I actually rated this one 5 stars as well. So my first 2 5 stars of the year were Road of Bones and Kingdom of Claw. The next 5-star book that I read in January was Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear by Seanan Mcguire. Now, I love Seanan Mcguire. This is my all-time favorite series. I have a tattoo for this series. I am fully obsessed with the Wayward Children series. Now, this book is the 10th book in this series, so I'm obviously not going to give you a summary of this one, but I will say that the first book in the series is all about these children who are wayward. They go to portal worlds, and it's them kind of, when they come back into reality, they go to a home, they're settled there, and it's them kind of interacting with each other and figuring out what life is going to be like once they return from their portal worlds. Now, it goes back and forth throughout the series between the home where they all live to different portal worlds where you get to see the children in their world. Now, this one is one of the ones that takes place in the portal world, and this one is about a girl who is missing her arm, and she gets adopted, and her family, they want her to get a prosthetic arm, but she doesn't feel like she needs one. But she ends up in this like aquatic world where there's giant turtles where they all ride on, and she kind of gets to be herself for once in her life, and it's her coming and realizing what she actually wants and what she values as a person. This one was really, really good. Obviously, it's a 5-star book, 5-star series, 6-star series. I love this series. The next book that I rated 5 stars in January was By Any Other Name by Jodi Picoult. I don't have my copy because I'm letting my grandma borrow it, but this book really, really ripped my heart out. This book is essentially about the woman who is kind of rumored to have written some of Shakespeare's plays. Now, this is all historical fiction, so it's all like extremely fictionalized, but it is very interesting. It asks a lot of really interesting questions, and it's such a strong book of women empowerment that I just adore. I love Jodi Picoult. Like, I have never read a book by her that I didn't love, and this one was no exception. This one was so unique. It also follows, kind of in present day, a woman who is kind of researching the woman back in history who is rumored to have written Shakespeare's plays, because this woman in present day is an ancestor of her. So she's doing research, so you're seeing 2 different timelines converge. It was excellent. I highly recommend this one. The next book is none other than Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. If you know me, you know I love fantasy romance. It's like my favorite genre, and Fourth Wing kind of means everything to me. Xaden is like just the perfect book boyfriend. I love Xaden, and in this book I love him even more. So this is the 3rd book in the series. The first one is about Violet Sorrengail, and Violet enters into the writer's quadrant at this war college, and she is learning how to ride dragons, and there's this tension, this enemies to lovers romance that is just incredible. And obviously, as the story goes on, the world opens up, it just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and this one is no exception. This one is an obvious choice. 5 stars from me for every single book in this series. This one, I think I liked Fourth Wing better, but I think this might be my second favorite one in the series. Next, we have Magnolia Parks, and I'm letting my friend borrow my copy, so I don't have a copy to show you. But Magnolia Parks is a series of 5-star books for me. So there are 5 books out, I believe. I've read all 5, and they're all 5 stars. You'll see some of the other ones later on in this video, but Magnolia Parks is about Magnolia Parks, and she is kind of like an it girl. So everybody is obsessed with her. She's very, very wealthy. She lives in London, and it's kind of her story of her tumultuous relationship with BJ Valentine. Now, the two of them have a lot of history, and I think that all of their history really makes their romance so strong. They're constantly getting in fights, they're constantly breaking up, they're constantly getting back together, but the entire time they are so ridiculously in love with one another, and you just can't help but watch. It's truly a book where you can't look away. The drama is dramaing in this one, let me tell you. Then the last book that I read in January was The House of My Mother by Shari Franke. Now, this book I listened to as an audiobook, and I have to say that I highly recommend the audiobook. Shari Franke does an excellent job narrating it, and I think it's really important when given the chance to hear somebody tell their own story. I think that that is incredible. So if you like audiobooks and you like memoirs, you might want to give this one a try. This one details the story of Shari growing up with Ruby Franke, who is one of the world's worst mothers. She was a YouTuber, and she basically really messed up her children. She did some very horrible things to them. And it's Shari coming into her own and realizing all of these bad things and how she can help her siblings get out of it. And it's just an incredible story. I highly recommend it. So now we're getting into February's books. I read 31 books in the month of February, and 12 of them were 5 stars. I had such an excellent reading month in the month of February. I read some really, really great books. Now, the next book that I want to talk about is Fate and Furies. This is the third book in the Legends of Thesmar series, and I loved all of the books in this series. I think that the first 2 were like 4.5 stars, but this was the first one that hit that 5-star mark for me. Now, I recommend this series to people who like enemies to lovers, who like slow burn, who love a story with a great found family. The premise of this story is that our main character, she wants to be a warrior. However, women are barred from bearing swords, so she can't become a warrior, essentially. But she has been training in secret her entire life, and finally she kind of gets the chance to become a warrior. And so throughout the series, you see her becoming this warrior. You see her with this incredibly slow burn romance spanning the entire series, and the found family in this is unmatched. It's so good. I highly recommend this series. The next book I have to talk about is Daisy Haites. This is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe, and Daisy Haites is about a woman named Daisy and her story with Christian. Now, Daisy is from a crime family, so she has a lot of experience in dealing with situations that are not so good, and so you see her and her brother kind of going back and forth, and her brother Julian Haites is one of my favorite book boyfriends. I love Julian Haites. He's incredible. But this is her story with Christian, and Christian also kind of comes from a crime family, but it's a little bit different. It's not as intense, and so it's the two of them fighting and getting in fights and breaking up and getting back together, and it's just incredible. I would have said that I like Magnolia Parks better, but when I read the last Daisy Haites book, I kind of changed my tune a little bit. I think it's safe to say that I like them both equally. So Daisy Haites is my next 5-star. The next book I have is a little different from all the other books, and that is Babel by RF Kuang. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to read this book because I wasn't sure if I was going to love it, because fantasy like this is either hit or miss for me. This one, however, was such a hit. It follows our main character, Robin, and he's Chinese, and he is kind of recruited by this professor to come to Oxford and study at the language center, because the magic system in this world is powered by like translation. So because he's a native speaker, he is recruited to come and speak his language, and also obviously he learns other languages, he learns the classics and all of that. So it's him in this school dealing with the repercussions of what it means because he's Chinese. That's why they wanted him, but he's viewed as differently because this takes place back in time, so people don't treat him very well. And so this has a lot to do with racism, and it is just expertly done. So incredible. I adored Babel by RF Kuang. In a completely opposite vein, we have Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. This is a god tier book for me. I loved Deep End. It's one of my favorite romances, definitely my favorite Ali Hazelwood. It follows two college athletes. She is a diver who hasn't been able to dive for a while because she had a severe shoulder injury, and she's just kind of dipping her toes back in. And then we have the hero in the story, whose name is Lucas, and he is like an incredible swimmer. Like, I just pictured like Michael Phelps levels, right? Like, he is an Olympic winner. Like, he is just an awesome swimmer, and he is so attractive throughout this book. Like, the way that he treats her is to die for. It's to die for. He is so protective of her, and I ate this book up. The next book I read is also another god tier book, and that is The Favorites by Layne Fargo. Now, this one I feel like has been getting so much buzz, and it's totally well deserved. The Favorites by Layne Fargo follows the story of two ice skaters who kind of come from nothing. So you watch them as baby ice skaters going through life, becoming Olympics level ice skaters, and you just kind of see them in all of their struggles. My favorite part of this book is that parts of it are told interview style, so you get all of the different characters telling their side of the story, but then also simultaneously you get our main character telling her side of the story, so you're kind of seeing the public's perception plus the actuality of what really happened. And this has an incredible love story in it. It's not a romance, but it definitely has a great love story. So this one is 10 out of 10. I loved it. Next, we have the fourth book in the Legends of Thesmar series, Shadow and Storms. And anything I would have said about this book, I already said about Fate and Furies, but this series is so good. And once you get to the last book, it's just so incredibly worth it. The payoff is incredible. I really adored this series. So the next book I want to talk about is the first book in the Legacy of God series by Rina Kent, God of Malice. God of Malice is a dark romance. So if you are not into dark romances, I don't recommend this one. It starts off really dark and like really kind of graphic, and you're like, what on earth is going on? But then as you keep reading, you just become obsessed with Killian like I did, and you just are rooting for them so hard. So the premise of this series is basically there's two warring colleges, and one of them is full of British people and one of them is full of American people, and they're all connected to the mafia, and they're like enemies basically. So the romances are mostly like characters from opposing colleges kind of giving like Romeo and Juliet, like feuding families, and it's just so good because the tension is there and it's really dark, so beware of that. Look up your trigger warnings. It is so good though. So good. Next up we have Iron and Embers by Helen Scheuerer. This is a series that is a spin-off of the Legends of Thesmar series. This series is called The Ashes of Thesmar, and this one follows the main character of the Legends of Thesmar series. It follows her sister, and her sister is an alchemist who kind of becomes this assassin, and it's her romance with one of the characters from Legends of Thesmar, and it is just so good. You don't have to read Legends of Thesmar to read this one. However, I feel like you should read the Legends of Thesmar and then go right into this one because of all of the connections and all of the ties. It's a great enemies to lovers romance, and it is chef's kiss. The next book we have is Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home. I told you would be seeing these throughout. Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home is the third book in the Magnolia Parks universe, and it still follows Magnolia. And this one will rip your heart out. It will rip your heart out. At the end of it, I was crying and I couldn't stop crying. Oh my God. This one was really good. Really, really good. The next book I have is Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. This is the third book in the When in Rome series, and I really liked the other two, but this one was so good, and I think maybe it has something to do with the fact that this is about two teachers. And if you didn't know, I am a teacher, so I think that I kind of related to them in some ways, but this book takes place mostly over the summer, and these two teachers are nemesises. So it's got that enemies to lovers. It's a small town romance. It is just really good. I listened to the audiobook of this one, and the audiobook was incredible. I highly recommend it. The next book I have is actually a middle grade, and it's a graphic novel. It's Whitebird by R.J. Palacio. Now this book is a spin-off of the Wonder series. So in Wonder, the main character Augie, he has this bully named Julian, and this is actually the story of Julian's grandmother going through World War II, and it is expertly done. It is so good, and I read this at work and I was crying in front of all of my students, sitting up at my desk during independent reading time, crying because this book was that good. If you like graphic novels and you're into historical fiction, even if you've never read Wonder, I highly recommend reading this graphic novel. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Erriu. Now this book is an enemies to lovers fantasy romance. Are you sensing a theme? I just devour enemies to lovers fantasy romances. They're like my bread and butter. That's like, I know if I read an enemies to lovers fantasy romance, I'm probably going to love it. This one is takes place in a world where they're ruled by the stars. So there's this prophecy that our main character is going to fall for a star, and that it's going to kill them both. So because of this, she runs away to a neighboring city where she meets the prince of that city, and chaos ensues. You have to read it to find out what happens. So finally we have March. In March I read 19 books, and of those 19 books, 10 of them were 5 stars, which is pretty good odds if you ask me. So the first book on my list is actually a reread, and that reread was Legendborn. I thought about not including this because I've read it a long time ago and this was just a reread, but Legendborn deserves all the hype, truly. So it is about our main character who goes to college at UNC, and she kind of discovers that magic exists. And not only does magic exist, but also there is a secret society that's based on Arthurian legend whose job is to protect the area from this magic. So she discovers that. She discovers that she has powers, and she tries to join the secret society. This book has everything. It has trials, it has romance. It is just the perfect YA fantasy. If you haven't read this one yet, you need to get on it. It is so good. The next book I want to talk about is Invisible Child. Now this book I read for a book club at work, and this book is a nonfiction, and it broke me. It really broke me. I think there were lots of this story that I personally could relate to, and I think that that was really hard for me to read. It tells the story of a young girl who kind of just has not had good luck in life. She comes from a very poor family. Her parents are addicted to drugs. She's in and out of being homeless, and it's her kind of growing up and realizing what life is like. And she does get a lot of good opportunities, but then she has to reflect on what those good opportunities mean for her family. And it just really speaks to the education system. It speaks to a lot of things that are wrong in this country and our care of children. It's just a heartbreaking book. It's a must read, especially if you are a teacher. Like, oh my gosh, it just thinking about it is almost making me upset. It was that good. I couldn't rate this anything other than 5 stars. And on an entirely different note, the next book is Zodiac Academy Heartless Sky. I am a woman of many tastes. So Zodiac Academy, this is, I think it's the 7th book. It is a series about 2 sisters who discover that magic is real and that they have powers, and they get taken to kind of like a different world where they go to this academy, obviously. And all of the magic is linked to zodiacs, like zodiac symbols, and the stars play an important role. And I just love a good book where lots of things are up to fate. This has one of my favorite book boyfriends in it, Lance Orion. I also love Darius, don't get me wrong, but this series is just incredible, and it gets better and better as you go. If you read the first one and you don't like it, I mean, you might not like the second one either, but because it's not like the writing gets that much better, but it does get better as the stories go on everything. The beginning is a heavy bully romance, but it doesn't always stay like that. I promise it doesn't stay like that. It is so good. The next book I have is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. This one is about a man who is a radio host on a romance hotline, and the woman, her daughter, calls into the radio station and basically says like, SOS, my mom needs help. And this story is the romance between the mom and the radio host, and it is so good. They have this chemistry. The banter in this book is incredible. This is peak rom-com, peak rom-com. If you like rom-coms, you're gonna love this one. This one is done right. It is so good. Next, we have Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. This is the third book in the Legendborn series, and you might notice that Bloodmarked is not on this list. That's because Bloodmarked was a 4-star book for me, not a 5-star book. I still highly recommend the series. I think every book is great. This one was so good. It was so good. Like I said before, everything I said about Legendborn follows through to this one. The characters are so incredible, and there's this brilliant, like, love triangle going on. It is so good. It's YA done right, I'm telling you. YA done right. Next we have The Wishing Game, which I feel like I've talked about at length in almost every single video I've posted. So The Wishing Game is an incredible, heartwarming story. If you like stories with a lot of whimsy, you will love Meg Schaefer. Meg Schaefer just knows what she's doing. She knows how to write a book that speaks to me. So this one is about our main character, Lucy, who, when she's younger, she escapes to this island where the author of her favorite book series lives. So fast forward to present day, and she gets an offer to go back to this island to participate in the Wishing Games to win the author's newest manuscript. And she wants to do this especially because she wants to adopt a little boy. And the story is so whimsical. Everything about it just tugs on your heartstrings. The game aspect was good. I just really thoroughly enjoyed this book. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, definitely pick it up. And also you're going to want to pick up her other book, The Lost Story, which I'm going to talk about later. The next book I read was Sunrise on the Reaping, which I lent out to my sister, so I don't have my copy. But Sunrise on the Reaping is the 5th book in the Hunger Games series. It is a prequel to the original trilogy. This one tells Haymitch's story. It's a quarter quell, so you get to see him basically all the way from reaping all the way through to his games, and then at the very end you get a little bit of touch of present day Haymitch. It was incredible. Everything everybody is saying about it is true. I didn't actually even love Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I'm so happy I gave this one a shot because 5 stars, just incredible. I told you I'd get to The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. This is the second book that Meg Schaefer put out. It's also the second one that I read. And this one tells the story of a woman who is looking for her sister, and she recruits the help of these 2 men who were also missing in the same forest that her sister is missing in. And this is excellent. If you like Seanan Mcguire's Wayward Children series, just for the vibes, like the whimsy, I think that you could also enjoy this book. It has lots of aspects that are similar, and I loved it. Next, we have The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. Now, The Butcher is a thriller, and it is an incredible thriller. It is so good. It had me on the edge of my seat. It tells the story of this man who found out who the butcher was years in the past, and it's just now opening up to them discovering that maybe the butcher that they found isn't actually the butcher, but we're not sure. You're unsure of that the entire book. It tells the story of the detective who found the original butcher, his grandson, and also a woman who is investigating the case. It is so good. The twists and turns in this book will have your jaw on the floor. It is incredible. And finally, the last book I have to talk about is Daisy Haites: The Great Undoing. This is the 4th book in the Daisy Haites Magnolia Parks universe, and this one is the one that made me fall in love with Daisy Haites. It is so good. It leaves off on such a big cliffhanger. You're foaming at the mouth wanting more. I immediately went into Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, which for the record is also a 5-star book. That book is also like God tier, but I read that in April, so it's not in this video. But the Magnolia Park series, if you like books filled with drama and twists and turns, you've got to pick it up. It is so good. So with that being said, those are all of my 5-star books from the first quarter of this year, 2025. I enjoyed reading all of these. I hope you enjoyed hearing about them. Hopefully you found some good book recommendations, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye!